we took an escorted tour to the Outer Banks of North Carolina. Now, this entailed an all-day bus ride from the western mountain part of the state all the way to the coast on the east. And so we stayed the first night in a small town called Edenton. Now, I had never heard of it before, but it was a pleasant surprise, and I'd like to tell you all about it. Hi, thanks for watching. I'm Sandy from Sandy Over 70, and I hope you'll consider subscribing to my channel. It's free, and if you click the little bell, you'll be notified when I post new videos. So it took 9 hours to get from Asheville to Edenton, North Carolina, which is where we are now. And we're having dinner at an Oyster House, but oh my, is it beautiful here. Look at these beautiful boats. The first thing we did when we arrived in Edenton was have lunch. This particular travel company includes all food with the price. And when we arrive at a restaurant, we can order anything we want off the menu, which is good and bad. It's great because you're not restricted to what you can eat, but it's tempting to order too much food. And that's what happened on the first day of this trip. I ordered sea scallops, and this was a complete dinner meal, and I'm having it at lunch. So it really filled me up. And then when I ate dinner again later on, I had another big meal. So I learned my lesson, and on the following days, I ordered less food. Edenton calls itself the prettiest small town in the South. And there are certainly a lot of pretty small towns in the South, and this is one of them. When we arrived on a Sunday afternoon, Edenton was completely deserted downtown. There wasn't a soul there. Part of it was because it was Sunday, so the buildings we were hoping to tour were closed. But the main reason it was so quiet was that Hurricane Ian had passed by the central part of North Carolina that day. And so it really wasn't the best time to be doing an escorted tour, but this company decided to go ahead with it. Now, it was not raining when we arrived, but it obviously had rained because there was a very loud machine pumping water out of a basement from one of the restaurants downtown. So we wandered around, hoping to get into one of the buildings, but they all seemed to be closed. The tour guide did take us into the Episcopal Church, and we were able to walk around the grounds where the cemetery was, and I thought, oh my, is this the extent of our visit to Edenton? Fortunately, one of the church members opened the door and allowed us to go in, so at least we were able to see something, and that church was beautiful. This is the historic Cupola House and Gardens. Normally there are tours of this historic house, but of course, it's Sunday, and the house and gardens are closed. Could anything else go wrong here? We were hoping to get into the Cupola House, built in 1758, but it was closed for whatever reasons. We did look into the garden and were hoping to walk around, and later on, luckily, someone did let us into the garden, so at least we got to see that. We're at the Penelope Barker House in Edenton, and I think finally something is open for us to go inside. So it's located on this beautiful water here, and this is the house in the background. So I'm interested in seeing what's inside. The views here are just gorgeous. Well, finally we did get into one of the buildings, Penelope Barker House, which was filled with antiques. I especially loved the room where they had a display of old hats and some clothing from the past. I didn't dare touch the hats until I found a sign in the drawer that said, "Try on these hats and then post your photos to our Facebook page." So of course I did, and I was having fun. When I looked at the pictures later on, I see one of the tour members just horrified behind me that I was touching these supposed antique hats, but they apparently were not antique at all. They were just hats that looked old. This town is very walkable, and so that's what we did. We walked over to the 1886 Roanoke River Lighthouse. We couldn't go in it, but we looked at it. So all in all, it was a pleasant way to spend the afternoon. Even though we only spent one day in Edenton, it was fun because I love exploring these little towns with some beautiful historic homes. And, you don't forget these places once you visited them. And it was a great way to pass the time, even though we didn't get into a lot of buildings. Just walking around that town was fun, but it was really strange that we were the only people walking around downtown. I'm sure in the summer that there's lots of people and the trolley car is taking people on tours and all the buildings are open, but not at this time when we just had a storm pass through. I hope you enjoyed this little visit to Edenton. If you did, give me a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching and have a great day.